What's good? What's good? I'm back. One and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast. And we're gonna have a guest coming on in a little while. I think he said he might be about 5 minutes late. So definitely appreciate that. Let's see who's we got Ice Water Miko so far, Hammer 170. Appreciate you. Bars 1980. Make sure y'all please give that like, that comment, and follow and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Go live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And I also will download the video later and upload it to millions.co, as well as a lot of clips from the interviews that I do. While we're waiting on a guest, let's just go over what's coming up for BKFC here soon. You got BKFC Fight Night Newcastle, which is this Saturday, and that's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as it's over there in the UK. They're like 6 hours ahead of us. That's the main event is Mick Terrell versus Ghost McFarlane. And then, I mean, the week after that, you got, I think it's the week after that. Yeah, pretty much the week after that, BKFC 87 Hollywood, Kai Stewart versus Nico Gaffey. And of course, everybody's got a target on Kai Stewart that's in his weight class or close to that weight class. Then next to be BKFC Fight Night Mohegan Sun, which is our guest to be the main event in that. Parker Porter versus Hayes Wilson. That was originally supposed to be Josh Watson, but that got changed. You got BKFC 88 Denver Kamosi versus Rodriguez. Chris Kamosi versus Esteban the Mohawk Rodriguez. That's going to be interesting. Then you got they just added Hayes Heppy versus Winston Newski. I'm definitely probably butchering that name, but that's going to be the Australian card. I think Hayes Heppy is actually from Australia. It makes sense to have him as the main event on that card. You got BKFC Fight Night Clearwater, Jared Warren versus Connor Cook, and then Blood for Blood, which I'm not too familiar with what the Blood for Blood is. So, but the main event looks like Alex the Terrible versus Cameron Delano. It looks like it's gonna be crazy. And then you still got some other cards that they don't have no main events or fights for yet, like BKFC Salt Lake City, which is in May 15th, BKFC Fight Night Palm Desert, May 22nd, and BKFC Serbia, that's in September though. That's like towards the late of the year. And you still got we still don't know what's gonna happen for BKFC Fight Night Honolulu. I don't know who the big fighter is out there in Honolulu that you could put on as a main card. And that's in April 11th, which is 2 days after my birthday. And then BKC Fight Club, which I think that's an event where guys are gonna fight to get a deal with BKFC. I think that's how that one is gonna roll. Go check out the interview yesterday we did with Corey, what you talking about, Willis. He just fought Perdomo recently and went 2.5 rounds with Perdomo, which nobody else did that. And he's about to fight Josh Cuddly Bear Copeland, so that's gonna definitely be an interesting one. I can see that one really possibly getting bloody like the further it goes. If it goes 5 rounds, somebody's probably gonna be bloody at the end. Shouts out to David L. Thrower, Chuck T. What up, DJ Chuck T? I need to have him back on my other podcast, Live from Vietnam, which is the music podcast. Make sure y'all go follow that as well on all platforms. Live from Vietnam. We got that name from Vietnam. You know, we over here at Fort Bragg. We got the 82nd Airborne. You know, so if they do send troops out to any of these wars, 82nd Airborne is probably gonna be the first ones to go. Let's see what we got here. Okay, somebody hit me up about an interview. I'll hit them back in a few. You know what? And while we waiting for the guest, let's go over his fight card. Of course, Parker Porter versus Hayes Wilson is gonna be the main event. Co-main event is Pat Casey versus Zeb Vincent. You got Rico DeCilio versus Elijah Harris. Um, Rico's was he 3-0? He's looking to go to 4-0. Elijah Harris looking to go to 3-1. Harry Gigliotti, I guess that's his name, man. I need to go look it up and see how they pronounce the name. Hopefully, I get it right. But he left BKB, gave up his belt. Now he come over to BKFC, and he's got a target on Kai Stewart, like everybody else in that weight class. And he's got to fight Timmy Mason to start out. Timmy Mason got 6 fights on his belt, 3-3. Gary Boleto the third versus Adam DeFrides. Uh, Gary's 2-0, Adams 1-2. So Gary looking to go to 3-0. You got Alexandra Ballou versus Taylor Dagner. Both of them are making their debut in the BKFC. And the women's fights can typically go the distance. Shouts out to Chino Bloom. Appreciate you for tuning in. You did have Cito Navarro versus Rick Caruso. Cito had a injury, so I don't think he's going to be fighting. I don't know if they replaced him, or sometimes, when a fighter's out, like they can't find a replacement in time, and they just basically scrap the whole fight. This one should be interesting. Guilherme Viana versus Joseph White. Joseph White be banging in his fights. He's 2-2, looking to go 3-2, and Guilherme is 2-0, looking to go 3-0. And Joseph Peters, who I'm not too much familiar with, but he's 2-0, fighting Maurice Horn, who's 1-1. And Isaiah Williams versus Joshua Whiteside. Then you got David Burke versus Terrell Johnson. Sophia, two females fights on this card. You usually don't get 2 female fights on one card at all. It's usually a lot of times you'll see a lot of fight cards that don't even have one female fight. So you got 2 of them on here. And all the women are making their debuts. So that'd probably be the first fight of the night. The women's bantamweight, Sophia Hayes versus Nadia Morano. Basically to start it out, making their debut. Couple 0-1 guys with Terrell Johnson and David Burke. And see, I like to see fights like that one. You got both guys are like 0-1, and both of these guys need a fight. But sometimes you be having these 0-1 guys fighting like guys that got like 6, 7, 8 fights under their belt in BKFC. Let's see. I don't see our guest yet. Just make sure we're still good. I know he said he might be a few minutes late. Ba 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 ba. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're into that bare knuckle, go to bkfc.com. Check it out. They got a lot of events coming up. You can stream it on I usually watch mine on Amazon Prime, but they have some cards on DAZN, and then they got their own app, the BKFC app, which is like $70.99 a month. Just making sure we still good. I know he did say he had a class he was teaching. That's the thing. A lot of fighters are also doing they open up gyms and they train other fighters or training kids how to fight and defend themselves. Let's see what I got coming up next though. Still, this Sunday we got AJ the biggest Rodriguez. We're waiting on Keith the Officer Richardson, not Keith the Rockstar Richardson, but Keith the Officer Richardson to hit back. Also got to set up a interview with a couple other people. There was a female bare knuckle fighter from Scotland that's 2-0. I forgot her name. So I definitely need to set up the interview with her here soon. We got a request from somebody from Poland. Only thing is them overseas interviews, like the time zones are so different. It's like sometimes they can only do it like super early on their time, which is like, like one guy wanted me to do an interview like it his time would have been like 5 in the morning my time or 6 in the morning my time. I'm like, nah, that's a little too early, a little too early. Let's see. Make sure y'all comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me see what we got. I need some new bare knuckle news. Definitely tune into this UK. I actually don't be checking out a lot of the UK cards. I'm not too familiar with a lot of UK guys. Um, but I want to check out this one, just get more acquainted to a lot of the UK guys because I think they're gonna be mixing in the countries here soon. It's not gonna be like UK belts and European belts. It's just gonna be the world title belts. And did they remove that one fight? There was a fight that supposed to have been Gary Fox and James Lilly, and Gary Fox ain't fighting no more. So now James Lilly's fighting the guy making his debut, and he's the favorite. He was not the favorite when he was fighting Gary Fox. Now that Gary Fox is out, he's the favorite. I know that sucks because I think he was gonna fight for Gary Fox's belt, and then now he's like the second fight on the card now when he was literally just he was just the co-main event, and now he's got moved down to the second fight on the card, man, which a lot of people don't get. When you be watching them, you can see that a lot of the early fights, it don't be like packed in just yet. The seats ain't don't be filled like just right away on the first fight, the second fight. BKFC Hollywood's definitely gonna be interesting. I don't that's the thing. I don't like picking who I think's gonna win, especially on the podcast, because like a lot of these guys I still want to interview. I mean, I do know like personally who I feel like is gonna win, and I mean, Perdomo. I mean, that one I already said it. I don't think anybody's ever gonna beat that guy, so I'm always gonna pick him to win till I see somebody look like they got a chance to beat Perdomo. I'm not. I'm always saying Perdomo is gonna win. Like I just don't see it. But like Kai, Nico Gaffey, I mean, Nico's tough, man, but Kai Stewart is he's beat everybody that's came in his path. Brian Duran, Derek Perez, I mean, that could get bloody. Um, I mean, Brian Duran's last fight, I think it was a split decision, so it almost like it was almost so close that it coulda went either way. Shelby Cannon, Rosalinda Rodriguez. Rosalinda's looking to go to 4-0. And that's the strawweight, so that's Britain Hart's weight class. So she should be moving high up in the rankings if she wins that. Jeremy Smith and Donald Sanchez, that's gonna be a tough one, I think. And shouts out to Donald Sanchez. Just interviewed him on the podcast just recently. Go check out that interview as well. And I'm not hearing nothing from my guest yet. And I don't want to make no assumptions because you never know what could happen. Like I've had a lot of crazy things happen when Sometimes people were like late for interviews or couldn't show up for interviews. Uh, Chris Garcia, Chancey Wilson. I mean, Chancey's a bulldog. Could be a tough fight, but I mean, Chancey got to get back in that win column. I mean, he's 3-5 right now. He got a lot of fights under his belt, man, but don't really want to be going to 3-6. He could really use a win. And then AJ Rodriguez and Robert Armas is going to be interesting. Armas has got that cardio down pack. He's just coming at you nonstop. He doesn't tire up one bit. You got to really like knock him down and knock him out, man, or he's going to keep coming. And AJ Rodriguez he's pretty tough, man. 3-0 right now, looking to move up in the bantamweight. And then I don't know what's going on with the baby Hulk, Juan Carlos Rivera versus Mike Hansen. I heard Mike Hansen might be a opponent change, but we'll see. I haven't heard nothing yet about that. And Chino Bloom versus Ali Davis. And Chino just tuned in earlier. Shouts out to him. Both of these guys are 1-2, so just kind of fights I want to see. Like guys that are both 1-2 need to get back in that win column, you know. And then you got Ernesto Suarez versus Victor Flor, 1-0 versus a debut. One tough boxer. Appreciate you. Keith, the officer Richardson. I just shouted you out earlier. I sent you a message with some dates. Let me know if one of those dates is gonna work for you, and we can set up that interview and make sure we get that done. And I'm not hearing from Parker. Okay, hold up. So getting ready to jump on right now. Okay. All right. We're gonna give him a couple minutes. I don't think there's much more I could break down about the events going on right now. They really need to fill in some of these cards. Like, I don't know, I don't know what they got going on with BKFC Fight Night Honolulu. Yeah, have no idea. But that's 2 days after my birthday. So hopefully they make it a really good one. I want to see like and not necessarily a Honolulu fighter, but like or Hawaii fighter, just like necessarily just one of the biggest fights that you could give us. You know what I'm saying? Like I almost feel like, man, damn, it's gonna be too soon. But I almost felt like I would want to see Perdomo fight for the title or something there. Like, when is this guy ever gonna get a title shot, man? I get it. You want to build him up, build his name up. He might not be well known throughout the Americas, but at some point, man, the best fighters gotta fight the best fighters, man. To beat a man, you gotta beat the man, and you know he probably could have damn took the title from damn near anybody that's had it. So I definitely like to see Perdomo get his shot soon. I mean, he's got the longest winning streak right now. I'm thinking BKFC. The guy's literally like 9-0, 10 or 10-0. Probably more likely gonna be 11-0. Like you got guys that coming in and 1-0, 2-0 already getting title shots because they big names. It's just like the rap game. You care about your social media following, your TikTok followers, your Instagram followers, Facebook followers. How many tickets are you selling? It's got to be a tough business, man. It's got to be a tough business to be in, the fight business. Only get a certain amount of fights every year. Only get paid a certain amount per fight. You know, cats could go undefeated for a hot minute because their name's not big. They get overlooked for a title shot. Like I don't think that's the thing. In almost every other sport, man, it's like you gotta You gotta beat the best to be the best, man. Sometimes it's like I don't feel like the best guys are fighting for the title shots. I just feel like the biggest names are fighting for the title shots, and that could go for boxing, and that could go for MMA, and probably all combat sports, because it's just predicated on how many tickets does a guy sell for his name. Okay, alright, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get to a quick Dizzle break, and we gonna come right back.
That Dizzle ain't no joke, got me addicted, ain't no coke. Let's just have a toast. Anybody want some small, cause it's up. I be Dizzled up. Catch me sipping with my double cup. Can't just have one, you gotta double up. You pour it, gotta watch it bubble up. I ain't gon' lie, I cannot get enough. When Callie said I need another one, gon' have you coming back for more. But go get it while it's hot, before it be sold out in your stores. That Dizzle.
Right, I really mean it. You could Dizzle too. Dizzle is a premium luxury liqueur mixed with agave tequila, cognac, and orange liquor mango mix. Throw your Dizzle on ice and it's nice. Want to order your very own bottle or bottles? Go to dizzlebrand.com. They also got the hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. Click on our locations if you're available and you're in California, Georgia, I think in Missouri, and Arkansas. They have actual store locations. So you can go get your very own bottle. If not, you can order online through Emilio's Beverage. Just click on the online order link. All right, we about to bring on our guest. Let's properly introduce him. So he's combat sports vet, fought in UFC, Bellator, and much, much more. Now competes in the BKFC. He's 3-0 in bare knuckle, and he will be fighting BKFC Fight Night Mohegan Sun versus Hayes Wilson, March 28th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's bring on the one and only Parker Porter. Parker,
What's
how
up,
you
guys?
doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you been? Sorry it took me so long to get on here. I apologize. I was having some technical difficulties finishing up class and whatnot.
Okay, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you're a busy guy, man. Before we get into the fight, though, I like to ask fighters about their journey.
Of course.
So I saw something that was interesting. It said your first fight, you got paid $300 and you was fighting in front of 30 people. Is that true?
Pretty much. I mean, it might have been more like 50, maybe 60, but yeah. It was at a little place in Revere, Massachusetts called Club Lido. And it was almost 19 years ago, back when everything was very brand new. Just they just finished the season one finale of The Ultimate Fighter. That's how brand new everything was. The UFC wasn't quite so mainstream yet.
Wow. Do you ever look back on how far you came as a fighter from that point?
100%. I'm constantly kind of reminding myself as a way to stay humble and genuinely appreciate the level that I'm at now, and being able to show the next generation of guys how to get there a little bit clearer. I had to do a lot of trailblazing on my own because there was no clear cut path. There wasn't all the social media presence that you have now. I mean, like, you'd be lucky to find something on YouTube of a guy that you were about to fight to try and get some film or study on him. And, UFC was doing maybe 3-4 events a year, and they were always on pay per view. And if you didn't pay the money to watch it on pay per view, you missed the action. You didn't have 6 or 7, experts of, breaking the moves down and all the instant replays that you have to learn from these days. So I'm very, very thankful, and I never forget, how much of this I had to kind of figure out on my own, um, without even really having a compass.
Were you saying that about not having the footage back in the days? When I interview a lot of fighters, they just always say they just fight their fight. Is that a big part of it? Because you don't know a lot about the fighters?
It is. It was especially an even bigger piece of it back then,
Yeah,
because there was no option. It was like, well, I'm going to
yeah,
go out there and do my game, because just as little film as you had on them, they had none on you either. So nobody really knew what was going to happen. It was
yeah.
just kind of like, let's roll the dice and see what happens. I'm confident, dog, and I'm going to go into this fight and see what happens. I'm going to play my game, see how he plays his game, and I think that that's given my generation of guys coming up through that time the ability to adjust their game plan and kind of pivot on the fly a lot more instinctively than some of the guys you see coming up now, where they have such a structured game plan, and when things don't go perfectly the way that they had planned on it, sometimes they crumble. Obviously at the higher
Yeah.
levels, you see guys being able to adjust and problem solve much more effectively. But I think that's something that this current generation of up and coming fighters is kind of struggling with a little bit.
Now I saw. Did you fight John Jones as a light heavyweight back in the days?
Yeah, there was one time I tried to cut down to light heavyweight, and it didn't really go that way, go my way. Obviously, I lost to John because he was John Jones, and he still is. But in addition to that, I'd never cut weight, didn't have like a wrestling background or anything, and there certainly wasn't all the information out there that there is now. Now it's down to a complete science of how to do it to relatively extreme levels and do it as safely as possible. And then, most importantly, rehydrate in time to compete the next night. So I didn't even actually make the weight, even with the 1 pound allowance. I was 206 and a half, and I was just completely dried out, nothing left to give.
So cutting weight back then, it wasn't done as safely as nowadays.
Definitely not. It was a lot more kind of like, oh, well, this guy used to wrestle. Back when I was in high school, everybody used to kind of like worry about the wrestlers because the guys would be like wearing like sweatsuits in school, like trying to make sure they were making weight for school or for the match later that night. They'd be
Yeah.
kind of like carrying around empty Gatorade bottles and spitting in them, trying to get as much weight off them as possible. And it was a very archaic way of trying to do things. We were just like, oh, just get down to weight, just dehydrate yourself as much as possible. And as we know well and full, that is probably one of the most dangerous ways to do that kind of stuff.
Now you won the reality fighting heavyweight championship by knocking out Mike Dexter. What was that moment like for you?
It was incredible. It was one of my first times ever fighting in Mohegan Sun.
Okay.
I think it might be the first time ever fighting in Mohegan Sun. And then to do it for a title fight, and come out as the victor, having such a huge hometown crowd, it was an experience like no other. You know, becoming a champion in any promotion is an experience like no other. And then to be able to do it on what for me at the time was the biggest stage I've ever been able to be a part of was just amazing. That'll live in my head forever.
So you did your MMA, you were in the UFC, Bellator, a lot of other fight promotions. So like a lot of guys from UFC nowadays, you go into bare knuckle. Like how that opportunity come about?
So when the UFC released me in December of 23, it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. But it wasn't like, like, oh, well, I'm going to go keep fighting to prove them wrong, so to speak. I kept fighting, kept training because I just knew, I'm like, nobody wants to go out on a loss. Now, everybody's not going to necessarily get their fairy tale ending and go out on a win. But I just knew deep down inside, I'm like, I still have so much opportunity left. I can still move. I can keep up with these little, these younger guys.
Yeah.
I'm still sharp. I'm still making progress in the gym, lifting weights and stuff. There's no reason for me to not continue to pursue this to some degree or another. So at the time, I didn't know what that was going to be. It wasn't like as soon as I left the UFC, I'm like, I know I'm going to go to BKFC. I just kept training with no real specific direction. Obviously, not having that income from the UFC, now I had to go back to work in general contracting during the day, trying to build my gym during the night.
Okay.
So working all day, squeezing in training sessions where I can, and then teaching and building classes and growing a business. Um, I had to not even think about the opportunity to fight. I wasn't putting myself in the camp. I'm like, I just want to train and fall back in love with training. Because first and foremost, I got into this with the mentality of being a martial artist, not just a prize fighter. So I got the opportunity to start growing my business in the evening, got things all, kind of got all my ducks in a row, so to speak, in terms of at least having a structure and routine of how to do things. Even though I had as much on my plate as I did. And then after being like, all right, I'm in good shape, I hit my manager up and I was like, let's explore our opportunities. And BKFC came along, came over our plate, came across the table, so to speak. And it was always something that was kind of in the back. Whoa, shit, sorry, just lost
You
lights.
good?
Give me a second. There we go.
All right.
I'm at my gym and they got motion sensitive lights, so if we don't have some movement and whatnot going on around there, they fucking just shut off. But yeah, so I was a BKFC option came across the table, and it was something that always interested me because I'd done everything. I'd done a little bit of kickboxing, I'd done plenty of jujitsu tournaments, and I was like, always wanted to try to make things as real as possible. UFC, as real as it gets. I'm like, well, we
Yeah.
could make it more real by taking the gloves off, and it just
Yeah.
intrigued me, especially because of the clinch fighting aspect of it. I was like, that's kind of cool. So I signed up and did that, and I kind of had the itching feeling in the back of my head, like I think I'm gonna really like this, but I didn't know what to expect. So got my feet wet with my first fight, and it was just an instant like, we're done. This is the next avenue. We're gonna fixate on this and focus on this and put all our effort and energy into excelling at this.
Well, congratulations on your last win. Really good fight.
Thank you.
I mean, you big guys getting in there throwing blows. It's really entertaining, man. And y'all got all the knockout power that those 145s don't really got. So it was fun to watch. But you was about to fight Josh Stay Down Watson, which I was wanting to see so bad. Do you find out why he couldn't fight?
There were some red tape issues going on with something. I don't know all the details of it. So, I heard he may not be continuing with the BKFC. I'm not 100% sure. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know the whole real deal. You'd have to talk to him or talk to his management team and find out, because I certainly am not in the business of spreading rumors of any kind or misinformation. So, I felt really bad when I heard from him too, because we fought together on the June card at Mohegan Sun. He was the co-main event and I was the main event, and he's originally from Maine, and we kind of hit it off. Just being a couple of New England boys hanging out afterwards, talking shop, having drinks, and he's a really good dude. And it was funny because like right at the end of the night, we were like, man, I really like you a lot. It's going to be a crappy situation when we have to go beat the shit out of each other, but winner buys the first round. So, but that's the name of the game, like this is a business. At the end of the day, everybody's a potential opponent. Just because they're your friend doesn't mean, it's got to be personal.
You got Hayes Wilson replaced. Do you feel like there's been adequate time like for the replacement?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I felt like it has
had enough time for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time with the switch up, I was originally supposed to fight Copeland in December, and then with the week out, switched it up to Anthony Garrett.
That's right.
That was a little bit more of a, oh shit, we got to pivot quick. without any real significant time. But I think this was more than enough time to kind of change things up and have a good solid camp for everything.
Well, so that was gonna be my next question. So, I mean, different opponent. I mean, how much does the game plan change? So it does change some then.
A little bit, you know,
Yeah.
more specifically in the defensive side of things, you know, like
Okay.
everybody offers a different element of what they're most dangerous with.
Mhm.
So, you know, the objective is always the same: come out, dominate as much as possible, and go for the finish. But that specific avenue of how you get there isn't always identical from one fight to the next.
Oh, how much do you know about Hayes Wilson? I know he's got like more bare knuckle fights under his belt, but I couldn't really find a lot of footage.
Yeah, we couldn't either. I know the 4 wins that he's got were in a local promotion. I think it was called
Okay.
XFN. I looked on
Okay.
his record. And then his one loss was against Anthony Garrett when he made his BKFC debut.
Well,
So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. We didn't have a ton of footage on him or anything, but I think we collected enough information from what we've seen and whatnot to be able to execute intelligently.
so leads into my next question. So Hayes lost to your opponent that you just beat, Anthony the Warrior
Mhm.
Christ Garrett.
Correct.
Now, does that give you more confidence that you could beat this guy, but also you have to not underestimate him, even though he lost to an opponent that you beat?
Exactly. You know, it gives me more confidence, but it also makes him more dangerous because I feel like he's going to have something to prove.
Yeah.
Usually, you know, I tell a lot of the guys that I train, I'm like, you don't want to typically rush back in after you drop somebody because that's when they're going to be relatively at their most dangerous because they're going to be
Yeah.
swinging wild as hard as they can with everything. That's when they're going to be, you know, putting the most power into their shots, unless they're literally like half out on their feet. And even then, they're throwing those Hail Mary haymakers to try and get their feet back under them or to finish the fight before they're like, oh no, I can't continue. So I think that with him having a loss to the guy that I just beat, I feel like he might be coming out with something to prove and putting in a little bit of extra work.
So everybody wants to get the title. That's always a goal. And I know
Of
you
course.
don't want to look past this guy and the fighter, but one thing I noticed about BKFC is like 5 of the title holders are all over 40. And then you got Dustin Peg, he's 2 years away. You might as well say he's 40.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this sport might be more built for the veteran fighters more so than maybe the up and comers?
I think currently, but that's because um, in its earlier stages, those were the guys that were willing to do it. You know,
Okay.
a lot of the younger guys didn't necessarily see the potential for a career with it because it
Yeah.
was still so new,
Yeah.
and they were probably fixated on, well, I'm going to go box, you know, traditional boxing with gloves, or I'm trying to get to the UFC or Bellator or the PFL,
Yeah.
where the big leagues at. And now that this is starting to become the big leagues, you're seeing younger guys get into it earlier on. Guys are starting to see that, oh, there is the potential to have a successful combat sports career with the BKFC. You know, on the level of growth that they've been having, especially in the recent years,
Mhm.
is second to none, and that's not going unnoticed by the next generation that's coming up.
Do you think when UFC was like, because BKFC is going into year 8, do you feel like BKFC might be further along than when UFC was in year 8?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I think the BKFC in year 8 is more similar to where the UFC was in like year 15ish. You
Okay.
know, becoming a little more popular, and part of that is due to the growth and the help of understanding the advertising and social media platforms, as well as a variety of other networks out there for airing fights and whatnot. I think also they have an advantage in the sense of the entertainment value. You know, like it's action packed, man. The fights are short rounds,
Yeah.
and 9 out of 10 fights go to a finish, and they're a decisive finish. It's not usually
Yeah.
a questionable decision or like a awkward controversial call. It's like,
Yeah.
damn, that guy just got knocked the f out.
And they don't drag out no time in between the fights.
No, no,
It might be,
they're firing off
yeah,
every week, every 2 weeks. They're putting on shows nonstop.
yeah, because they literally got, so Saturday they got UK, and then they're back in Florida the next week, and then y'all are like what, 16 days away, I think.
We're about 2.5 ish weeks away. Yeah, on
Do
Saturday
most
it'll be 2 weeks.
do most fight promotions put on that many fights within a month?
I mean, the UFC was starting to,
Uh-huh.
especially during the COVID situation. They were still putting on fights like every week. They had the fight nights at the Apex, and they kind of shifted gears with that. But you're starting to see that kind of slow down a little bit. No, I don't think anybody is close to the same level of production right now in terms of the volume of fights that they're putting out that the BKFC is doing.
So I got a couple more questions before we let you go. I know you're busy. What motivates you to keep fighting after nearly 2 decades in combat sports?
I love this, man. I love this so much. You know, as I said a little bit earlier in the conversation, I've always considered myself a martial artist first, and that is a lifestyle, not an occupation. Whereas prize fighting is an occupation, but it's the purest, truest, most pure, true form of how to test yourself as a martial artist. And I love constantly trying to get better, constantly trying to pursue that perfection that's always just a smidge out of reach, but you're always trying to do better than the day before. And because of that mentality, this has made my life and helped shape me into who I am. It's instilled a level of self-discipline in me that is probably second only to, or comparable only to, going into military or basic training or going to a police academy. But I think the biggest difference between something like that and what I'm doing is that what I'm doing is self-imposed. Most of the guys that go into the military, with the exception of the special forces and the guys that continue to reach higher and higher, once they finish their contract, they don't necessarily hold themselves to the same level of discipline and standards. Where I've found that that's what makes me the best. And having my three sons, I want to show them that that's what they should be doing for themselves. Not necessarily be like, oh, you got to be a fighter. I don't want my kids to fight. I want them to know how. I want them to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
fully
yeah,
capable of putting it on somebody if they step to them on the wrong day and they have no other option.
yeah.
But I want them to be able to take that same level of tenacity, dedication, resilience, and discipline into whatever aspect of their life they choose to pursue.
So I got one more question before we go. It kind of might be a controversial question, and
Sure.
actually, I think it is. So Ronda Rousey, she's been talking a lot of viral clips about the pay for fighters. Do you think top promotions are paying fighters what they're really worth?
I think the UFC is not paying fighters even remotely what they're worth. I think the
Okay.
BKFC is doing exactly what they should be doing. I'm not upset. Like, who wouldn't be mad at more money for doing the same job you're already doing, so to speak?
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, duh. But with huge, like, they're, again, BKFC still being in those growing periods.
Yeah.
They're taking care of guys, I think, fairly and intelligently. With the UFC though, like, they're such a huge company. There's so much money. The UFC entry level pay is like, it's peanuts. Like, I would tell guys, it's a regular thing that we talk about in my gym. This is the only professional athlete that needs to have a part-time job. He's a UFC fighter, getting started with everything. You still got to have a part-time job at the very least, if not a full-time job. And then on top of it, they expect you to be able to perform and train like a full-time athlete. When the reality of it is, you got to juggle a job. You got to still pay your bills. Like Ronda Rousey said it herself, like, you got to be able to make a living wage, a livable wage.
Yeah.
$20,000 is not enough to live off of, especially after you got to pay taxes on that, pay out your corners, your managers, your coaches, things of that nature, travel expenses. It's not realistic.
Yeah. This is why I have so much respect for the fighters. I'm pro fighter. I'm not really pro fight promotion. just like you said, and it's not even just UFC. A lot,
Yeah.
even some BKFC guys, a lot of them have to have full-time jobs.
Yep.
You know, when you only get 1 or 2 fights a year, and like you said, it might only add up to 20,000. What is that in this economy?
Nothing. Nothing. You know, you can, nah, nothing. You know,
Yep. All right, so what do you think? Before we let you go, what are you expecting on this fight? You think it's gonna go the distance?
for my fight,
Yeah.
no, I don't expect
No.
it to go the distance. No, none of them has gone the distance so far, and that's 3 fights in. So I'm always looking for the finish. I'm sure that Hayes is going to be coming out looking for the finish as well. Highly unlikely that it's going to go the distance.
Well, I can't wait. Um, last one was, I mean, like I said, it was a really good fight, man.
Thank you. I
Really
appreciate
good
that.
fight. I like seeing the heavyweights because I mean, when y'all get in there, y'all start throwing blows, man. It just y'all be the
Yeah,
punches y'all be taking. It's like, gosh,
we came to scrap, man. We're not here to dance around. You know,
yeah. Well, you a friend of the show. Love to have you back on. Hopefully on your next fight. Wish you the best of luck in this fight. I'm definitely gonna be tuning in,
I appreciate it.
and I appreciate you taking time out, man.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Like I said, I'm sorry I couldn't jump on sooner and get here earlier. I had some things to finish wrapping up, but I'm glad I was able to.
Well, I really wanted to interview you, so I was gonna wait, man. So,
I appreciate that.
all right, man. You have a nice night.
You too. Take care, guys.
All right, peace, Parker. All right, there you got it, Parker Porter. I feel like he did have, you know, there was a opponent change on this. I definitely wanted to see him fight Josh Stay Down Watson and try to get Josh Watson on here if I can. Hopefully interview him, see what's going on. And I also want to get I know Zach Kalmus, he ain't with BKC no more, he's with BKB, but I he's the first guy I interviewed as a fighter on the Paul Pickett podcast. So I definitely want to get him back on here as well. Just find out what's going on. But yeah, this is gonna be a good one. BKC Fight Night, Mohegan Sun, Porter versus Wilson. I mean, Porter is 4-1 in bare knuckle. Even though the 4-0 was in another fight promotion and bare knuckle was a step up. But like you said, man, this guy, you know, he's gonna have something to prove. He, you know, was coming off a debut loss in the BKFC, and he's gonna want to try to get a win under his belt. They're both 6 foot. Fist size is pretty much the same. But like Parker said, I mean, none of his fights have went the distance, yo. First round, second round. I'm thinking maybe second round, third round at most. But even then, like the 2 rounds you got from the Porter Garrett fight, I mean, that was some good stuff. That was some good stuff. Shouts out to Parker Porter. Um, Definitely gotta clip up the John Jones clip. We gotta tag John Jones in that. I thought that was interesting. He fought John Jones back in the days. And the fact that he only made $300 his first fight, I mean, that's crazy, man. You gotta really love this shit to just only get $300 to go in there and fight. I mean, because the other guy probably only got $300 and he got knocked out. He got his ass whooped. So like, I don't know if $300 is enough money for me to go in and get my ass whooped, man. Let's see, shouts out some of the people that tune in. Joseph Creer, definitely wanna have him on this podcast. Carl Thompson, definitely need to, hit him up for an interview. Nightmare Street, so that's Justin Street, appreciate you. The Animal, Travis Thompson, appreciate you. Hank Russell, uh what is that? Nick Stevenson, 410, appreciate you. And Rasquash MMA, appreciate you as well. And Ipu Cunningham, 1218, I appreciate you for tuning in as well. We about to wrap it up. We about to hit the hour mark. I had to wait a little time for him to come on. He's a little late, but you know, good interview, man. Really good interview. Nice guy. Really good journey. Can't wait to see what happens. I mean, gets this win. I mean, he's already ranked 4th in the heavyweights. I mean, he gets this win. Hey, who knows? He fights maybe Mick Terrell next, and you moving up. You're at number 3. I mean, it's gonna be tough. You got just a tough division. You got Arlovsky, you got Perdomo, you still got Ben Rothwell who just lost. Mick Terrell, who's fighting Saturday, and Josh stayed out Watson, but he said, you know, something about him might not still be in fight with BKC, but we don't want to throw that out as a rumor. We're just gonna try to hit up Watson, see if we can get an interview and find out what's going on. But I definitely wanted to see that fight, man. I mean, Josh is crazy, yo. He knocking dudes down. He got them tattoos that say "Stay down," man. Like that's gotta be like really psychological warfare when a guy knocks you down to the ground and he shows you tattoos that say "Stay down." I appreciate y'all tuning in. Shouts out to Parker Porter for taking the time out. This Sunday, we got AJ Rodriguez, AJ the Biggest Rodriguez, and we got some other interviews coming next week as well. Appreciate y'all. Peace, and I'm out.